Hi everyone, and welcome to Toni, Renee at Home. Today's video is part of a collaboration that was started by the Canning Nana. It is dehydrating foods, things we like and things we don't. The reason that I started dehydrating was for one thing, and for many years I only dehydrated that one thing, which happens to be my favorite thing. So I have a favorite thing, but then when it came to the things that I don't like, I had to think about that a really long time because I really enjoy dehydrating and I really haven't dehydrated anything that I haven't liked, with the exception of one thing. But I'm going to wait till the end of this video to tell you my favorite and my least favorite. But everything in between, for me, I dehydrate like I can, and that is ingredients. I know that you can do, some people do chili, they do beef stew. I've never done anything like that. I do ingredient canning and I do things for snacks. And as far as the ingredients, did I say canning? I do so much canning, that word just flies out of my mouth. When I say that, I mean dehydrating, okay? The ingredient things that I like to dehydrate are things like carrots and celery and tomatoes and peppers. I have some zucchini that I have dehydrated, but I haven't used any of this yet, and it's just sealed in the jar. But if I have things like some apples that are left on the shelf and they're starting to get a little wrinkled in their skin, or they're starting to get soft, if I have anything like spinach or kale or carrots or celery or anything like that that is in the refrigerator, those types of things, I will go ahead and cut them up and put them in the dehydrator because that keeps them from going bad. And then I have those things stored, and even blueberries and strawberries and things like that. Those are all things that can go in the dehydrator before they go completely bad in your refrigerator or your pantry shelf. And those are quick and easy and a great way to use up your food and less waste, right? You can do fresh. You can even do frozen. You can buy frozen vegetables, toss them on a tray, put them in your dehydrator, and then you have any type of vegetable that you need, or mixed vegetables just to go in a soup or a stew or a pot pie. I have some things, like I had mentioned, I like to do tomatoes, okay? Slice them up, put them in the dehydrator. These will go on a pizza, perfect. But, and I'm sure you will hear a lot of us say this, I also turn it into a powder. Now this is more like, kind of like a granule, because first of all, I didn't have a powerful enough blender to turn it into a powder. And I think a lot of this might be the peeling. When I was canning my spaghetti sauce and my tomato sauce, I saved the peels after I peeled them, and then I ran those through the dehydrator and made tomato powder, or again, in my case, granules. Either way, it's fine. Use that to thicken your sauces, like your tomato sauce and your spaghetti sauce, if you want it thicker. Add it to soups and stews and whatever else you would add a tomato-based something to. Or even if you don't add a tomato sauce to like a vegetable soup, that will give it kind of a tomatoey flavor without actually adding tomato sauce or a can of tomatoes. And I like it for that reason too. I mentioned peppers. Here is some peppers that I'm working through. These are multi-peppers, so this isn't even sealed. And this is another jar of dehydrated peppers. So those are my peppers. And I have mentioned that if you have things like spinach or kale or whatever that's going bad in your refrigerator, go ahead and toss that on some trays in your dehydrator and then run that through a blender, and you end up with some green powder that can then be used in smoothies, and it can also be snuck into those soups and stews and spaghetti sauce, and your family will never know, especially your kids that might be finicky eaters and don't like their vegetables. That's a good way to sneak it in. Same way with the zucchini. I've added zucchini to spaghetti sauce before. I think that's all of my vegetables. I'm working through these as well. So they're just in some Ziploc bags, but these are some carrots. This is the celery, and I'm butchering some chickens, and I'm making broth. So I'm using those two things right there in my broth, and that's why I'm working through them and why they're not stored any better. But those are some of my favorite things to do, and some of the reasons why they are some of my favorite things to do. And like I said, I'm using this in my chicken broth right now, but if there's any left after my next broth that I do, I'm going to go ahead and run this through the blender and make some celery powder. Okay? So that's another thing that you can do. You can change anything, pretty much anything that you dehydrate. If you think you'll use it as a powder, run it through your blender. Easy peasy. I also have a ginger root here that I'm probably going to have to run through my dehydrator as well, and then I'll turn it into ginger powder. I have 3, can't pick them up. I have 3 of those. That one doesn't look very good, so that one will probably have to go in the compost. But anyway, this one doesn't look very good either. They may all be past the date. But these are little cuties or tangerines. Those can be the peel taken off the outside, and you can run it through in chunks. And then you can use that in potpourris, or you can use it in homemade, any kind of apothecary thing that you do. Also, you can zest it, and then you will have a citrus zest that you can put in any of your recipes. And then you dehydrate the rest of it and use it again for potpourris, or you can grind it up and have whatever kind of citrus powder that is. So all kinds of things you can do with anything when you're dehydrating it. So some of the fruits that I like to do, that's a little bit about the fruits. I also do, and these are one of my favorite things to do, and this is oranges. I love to have the oranges because these are excellent Christmas decorations. You can string them as a garland or just put the string through them and use them as an ornament. Excellent bowl fillers, just add to a bowl. Add them to potpourri, add them to your apothecary stuff that you're making. Use them in a recipe, powder some of these up, you'll have orange peel. If you take those peels, if you peel them, like I said with the cuties, before you dehydrate it, grind it up, you've got some, pulse it up, I wouldn't grind it into a powder, pulse it up, you have orange peel, lemon peel, lime peel, whatever. This little bag here doesn't look very pretty. They're kind of dark. This is lemons and limes together. It can also, these kind of citrus things can also be added to cleaning, to vinegar to make cleaning products. So many ways that you can use all the things that you dehydrate. So if you're not dehydrating now, go ahead and start. Another excellent reason to dehydrate, even if you feel like you're already preserving food because you have it in your freezer or you're canning and you've got it on your shelves, what if there's a tornado? What if there's an earthquake or a hurricane or anything else and it just completely wipes out your jars because it knocks them all on the floor? Your power goes out, everything in your freezers is gone. Like me, I have an electric stove, so if the power went out, I couldn't even cook this stuff. I would have to literally go outside on the grill or build a fire to cook this stuff that's in my freezers. So this is just another way to preserve food. And if anything like that happens, this stuff isn't going to be bad. If it needs to be reconstituted, all you need is water. And you have reconstituted food. If you dehydrate meat, you can throw all of that together and you've got a meal, you know? So you are a step ahead, in my opinion, if you're dehydrating. And it's just a skill that a lot of people aren't doing anymore, and I really encourage you to start. Whether you buy an expensive dehydrator, you find one at a thrift store, you use your oven, or you air dry. I almost said if you use your onion. Golly. Another fruit that I have done before, this one obviously isn't mine, but is pineapple. I love dehydrated pineapple. So good just to eat around as a snack. I think that's all the jars that I have. So before you start dehydrating though, no matter which way you decide to dehydrate, always, always, always have a good source that's the reliable that you can go to so you don't make yourself sick or your family sick. Always, always, always have a good source. I got this off of Amazon. I'll link it before. This is my dehydrating Bible. If I'm not using my guide, which also has a lot of guidelines and recipes in it for my Excalibur, I'm using this book here. So, and honestly, I think this, I may have other dehydrating books, but this is my go-to. Always, always, always have a dependable source and follow those directions so you don't make yourself sick, okay? So, what's my favorite thing and my least favorite thing to dehydrate? I'm going to start with my least favorite thing. And I think this might not be uncommon, but it wasn't anything that was going to stop me from dehydrating anything else. I just tried something else. But that's bananas. I was not a fan of the dehydrated bananas at all. And I followed the directions perfectly out of my Excalibur guide. Now, I have not tried them out of my dehydrating big thick book that I showed you. I did follow the directions out of my Excalibur guide. Not a fan. They turned dark. I tried them a different way. They would never crisp up. They stayed rubbery. They stuck together, and no matter how long I dehydrated them or what temperature I dehydrated them, just was not a good thing. And from what I've heard other people say, that can be pretty typical. So for me personally, I probably won't do bananas again because, like I said, I tried different ways of doing it the first time I did it and had them on different trays. I didn't like any of them. So I won't do bananas again. Not a fan. The pineapple, yes. The bananas, no. So my favorite thing, I will dehydrate this forever. And that is beef jerky. This is my favorite thing to dehydrate. It was the very first thing I dehydrated, and I think I said this already. I dehydrated this for years before I ever ventured out to do anything else. My family loves that. This is just in a regular Ziploc bag, a gallon-sized bag. This was full, and I just have it in this bag because my family goes through this so quickly. I just put it in a regular Ziploc bag and throw it in the freezer, and we just munch off of it for a couple of weeks. I just remembered another reason that I decided to dehydrate, and that is If you ever have to bug out, this is light and this is easy. Like I said before, you just need water to reconstitute it if it's something that has to be reconstituted and isn't just a snacky kind of thing. Easy to carry. And if those things are destroyed, I've still got food. So you can tell that I am sitting in my pantry. So if you would like to see the rest of this, I will link that video either up here or in a card at the end. I also have a small pantry I will link, and you can take a look at that. I have a freezer tour if you want to look through my freezers. I think it is very important that we all become more prepared than we were before 2020. That way, if there are any shortages for any reason, you're good. You're good. You're protected. Your family is protected. You're taken care of. And I'll get into more of all of that stuff in upcoming videos. I have a series that I'm getting ready to do in April, so be looking for that as well. Be sure to go watch all of the other channels that are a part of this collaboration. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Consider sticking around if you're not already a subscriber. And I will see you next time. God bless.